Okay, we're gonna do the unboxing of the Top Gear Tuning downpipe for the S3. I already got the box opened up here. They did a really good job with the packaging. It's got this kind of molded foam, so that's awesome. Some of these cardboard pieces. So we got the main part of the downpipe. It attaches to the engine turbo assembly here, right at the flange. And then we have the back section here, has the step down for the stock exhaust, which is what I wanted because I'm going to run the stock exhaust. So it's 3-inch down to I think it's 2.5, maybe. I don't think it's 2 1/4, but I'll measure it just to see what the stock exhaust is. So let's get it out of this wrapping. All right, all unboxed. In the box we have the mid-pipe section, we have the downpipe section, we have the hardware, so clamp for the mid-pipe to downpipe, which has a slip fitting here, so that's cool. Looks really good quality. The way they cut it out too is gonna grab nice on the pipe. Then we got the bracket for the studs that go into the mount, the bolts and, or the nuts and washers for it, and then the bolts and bracket to hold this bracket onto here. So we'll assemble that. Some assembly required, but not much. It's pretty good. And then here's the step down I was talking about to go to the stock exhaust. That looks really nice. The welds are awesome. They did a very, very good job. I mean, they're super high quality. It looks like they penetrated well. They look really, really good. Did a nice job on the polish. You know, got a nice finish on it. Downpipe to turbo flange is nice. Looks like they did a good job too on the welds there. Same with the bung for the O2 sensor. So it looks really good. And the flex joint is really, really nice quality too. Has, you know, some movement in it, but not super loose. So that's gonna be great for longevity. Well, let's get this thing installed. So I always start from the top when I do these. You're gonna undo the 6mm Allen bolt from the clamp. This part of the clamp usually flops to the side. This one always binds up, so you can give a little tap with a hammer to knock it loose. That way it releases the flange from the turbo. You're going to pull the O2 sensor out using a O2 sensor socket similar to this one. This one I was used with an extension that gets you up to about here, that you can, you know, loosen everything with it. Just twist and twist and twist until it comes loose. That way you don't have to undo any of the connections. You can just flop it here to the side. When we go to put it in, a little tech tip is I always twist it again like you're loosening it. And that way when you go to twist it back in, this wire for the O2 sensor doesn't stay twisted. So it's a little tip for you. We're gonna come down here, we're gonna loosen this nut right there on the clamp on each side. So I'll show you that from underneath. And then we're gonna work on getting the lower section loose. So first thing I did was undo the carrier bracket for the center drive shaft carrier bearing. That gives you enough room to kind of move things around. You're gonna loosen and remove the 12.10mm bolts. There's 3 of them. These are one-time use, so make sure that you get new ones when you remove the drive shaft, just to make sure, because they can stretch when you reinstall them, and if they come loose, it's not gonna be good. So once you remove all 3 of those, a good way to turn the drive shaft, so once you remove one, so you're gonna grab the tire here like this, the tire here like this, and you're gonna push at the same time forward. What that's gonna do is that's gonna turn the center drive shaft so you can get to the other 2 bolts. So when you do that, you'll be able to remove them fully, and then you're gonna remove the 2 lower bolts for the trans mount pendulum right here, the pendulum mount or dog bone mount, and then that's going to give you enough room to get a pry bar in here. You're going to pry the engine away from the drive shaft, and then you can move the actual drive shaft up and off of the stud, which I know is kind of hard to see up in there. There is a stud on the bevel box right there, and then you can push the drive shaft up out of the way to get us more room to access everything here to get the downpipe out. So now we're going to remove these 2 bolts for the bracket assembly here, and then there's a nut way up here. The nut right there You can barely see it, and that's for the mount for the downpipe. And then there's also another one right here on the other side of this. It's kind of tough to see right there. I'm gonna remove that nut off of that, and it's gonna give us enough space to move the downpipe back off the turbo, and then we're gonna get it out. Okay, so that was gonna be really hard to film. I should have put one on my GoPro on my head or something. But anyway, so what you're gonna do is once everything's loose, you're gonna bend this heat shield down as far as you can. You can also remove it, but in order to remove this, you gotta remove the axle and this heat shield above the axle. So I always leave it in and just kind of bend it down, and that'll give you enough room to kind of move it and twist it, and it does come out. So it is a pretty large assembly, because it does have the flanges for the bracket on there. But yeah, this one was actually, this downpipe was seen better days. The little shroud around the flex pipe is starting to wear out. You gotta be really careful of this stuff because it'll poke the crap out of you. So just heads up on there. How are we looking inside there? Yeah, it looks pretty good. Doesn't look too bad. Yep, that's the downpipe. So now we're going to install the new top gear downpipe and get it all buttoned up. Alright, so the downpipe goes in pretty much reverse order of how the stock one came out. It goes in a lot easier actually because the pipe is not as big due to the lack of not having this factory cat on there. So I went ahead and installed the bracket here. There's a flange plate that goes in here with some nuts welded to it, and these bolts go in here to hold this in place. Then you have the two studs for the mount plus the washers right there, and then the self-locking nuts here. I didn't tighten everything yet. It's all kind of still loose, just so I can get everything positioned correctly once I get it all bolted up, because we're gonna have to make sure everything clearances, and right now it's not attached to the turbo, so you can see it's just up there. So we're gonna do that now. We're gonna let the car down and put the clamp on it with a new donut for the gasket, which is, I mean, they call it a donut, but it's basically the gasket that goes inside the turbo, between the turbo and the downpipe. So that's gonna go on, and then the new clamp, and we will get it tightened up. So this is what I was talking about when you go to put the O2 sensor in. So you're gonna wanna twist it to the left so that it gets all twisted up on the wire there. And what that does is it allows you to thread it back into the downpipe. What that does is it allows you to thread it back into the downpipe, and find it first. Right there. And then when you go to twist it in, you just kind of make sure it's centered. Don't cross thread it because that would not be fun. And you're just gonna twist it. You can see it's starting to untwist the wire there until it gets tight. There you go. Now your wire's not twisted when it's back in the installed position. So we got our clamp tight. Downpipe is fully secured. So now we're gonna go underneath and get the mid pipe in, get it all buttoned up. All right, it's all installed. So I tightened this clamp last just to make sure that everything was in line up here. So the clearance is super tight, but I'm not hitting, so that's good. It's super tight over here. I was able to move the heat shield a little bit kind of over so that it doesn't contact it. Once I got all this adjusted, so this has, you know, slider forward and back. This has slider up and down, so you can kind of get it positioned as best as you can. This one's a little tight, so I may end up putting a couple washers on this backside to kind of move it out a little bit to give it some more grip inside here. So I'll let you know if I end up doing that. Everything else, clamp tightened up really nice. It's super secure, so I don't think that that's going to leak. And I just reused the old exhaust clamp because it wasn't messed up. So got this tight. Everything, fitment's good. Let's see how tips look great. Not a huge gap or anything. That's factory. That's factory. So the alignment of the exhaust is perfect. Everything looks really good. So let's get it on the ground and hear our first start. All right, here we go. First start. sport mode, so valves are open. Sounds really good. It's clean. GoPro on the back, in the trunk area for some actual good exhaust sounds. It's floored right here. Here we go. Feels a little quicker, but dyno's putting in work for sure. A little bit of burble there. DSG farts are pretty loud. Let's hear how it sounds with the windows up. So we're now cruising at 75-ish, 80. Good drive. Not too bad. A little bit of drone. Let's go ahead and put it in comfort. A little quieter. It's probably hard to tell on the video, but in comfort with the valves closed, it is quieter.